it is 9 o'clock on the west coast of Canada here. So we are going to kick off the meetup and get started for the Thursday, March 19th edition of the Vancouver Power BI and Modern Excel User Group Meetup. We're going to be looking at some AI agents and workflows coming up here with George Mount. But before we do that, a couple things we need to round out first. So I want to start once again, as per normal, just by thanking the sponsors. SkillWave is our training company where we make you awesome with Excel and Power BI. They are the title sponsor that works on getting all our speakers to come here and hosting the show for you. Excel Guru is the parent company of SkillWave and also the creator and distributor of my Monkey Tools add-in, which helps you build better solutions in Excel faster and audit those you get from others. Our next meetups that we have coming up in a couple of weeks, we've got Jan Karl Petiers is going to be joining us to talk about vibe coding and Office.js add-in. I was actually unfortunate to miss this session when he ran it for another group. So we asked him to come and do this for us. So very much looking forward to see what he has to say on this. And then our Power BI track, we've got one coming up in a month. Speaker will be announced once details are all finalized on that one. So we've got some stuff in the cooker, but not quite ready to announce just yet. If you are not familiar with our Monkey Tools add-in, we've actually just been nominated for add-in of the year for the second year running, which is pretty cool. We do have a free course on how to use Monkey Tools. Talks about all the great features and whatnot. So if you're interested in checking that out, you can check that out at SkillWave. It talks about what's free, what's pro, and all the rest of it. Gives you the ideas of how it gives you the steps on how to go and actually download it as well. So it's a great tool that a lot of people really love. And if you want to check out what's in there, you should definitely do so. We have a new product in our SkillWave courses right now, which is our Ask Ken Anything subscription. So this is where you can come in. We do a 2-hour live Teams call once every couple of weeks, and you can submit questions in advance. You can come in, you can ask anything. We take questions on Power BI, we take questions on Excel, we take questions on how to use them together. Just had a great session yesterday where we actually talked about building a full budgeting system in Excel that ties back into Power BI and actually reads from Power BI to Excel back into Power BI. Very cool stuff. So if you're interested in looking at anything, or you just want a little bit of help, the Ask Ken Anything subscription is a fantastic way to be able to get in touch with an expert to just, sanity check or get help with your scenarios. The Ask Ken Anything subscription is included in our Excel Fundamentals Academy. If you or someone on your team needs some help with getting up to speed with Excel, right from the very basics through to data visualization, pivot tables, and Power Query, it's a phenomenal product. Includes a great training curriculum, as well as I say, our Ask Ken Anything sessions. And if you feel that you're already past that, our premier training program is our Self-Service BI Academy. This one here has all the material in the fundamentals. It has a lot of Power Query, dimensional modeling, DAX training, Power Pivot, and Power BI training, copies of my books, my software, everything, as well as our Ask Ken Anything subscription as well. So you can definitely check that out as well. Do note that all of the links to these are contained in the PDF, which is already uploaded to the Meetup site. So you got your clickable links right there. This meetup, as are all meetups, will be recorded and posted to our SkillWave YouTube channel. We typically get that live within 24 hours now, which is great. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you will get notified via Meetup. If you are subscribed, you'll probably get notified via YouTube first. The last thing that I want to say before I hand this over to our friend Joseph is if you would like to come and speak to our Meetup group, we would love to have you. We're always looking for new speakers that want to share cool things that they're doing with Excel, with Power BI, with anything in the Power Platform stack. Just get in touch with us through the form right here and we will get you on our stage. And on that note, Joseph, are you ready to talk about what's new in Power BI?
Let's do it.
All right.
As ready as I'll ever be. I'll steal the screen from you. Cool. All right. Yeah. Welcome everybody to what's new in Power BI for March of 2026. If you regularly attend the Meetup group, you know that I do the what's new in Power BI, usually for like 15 to 20 minutes at the beginning. And if you were here last month, you will also know that the February feature summary blog hadn't been released in time for our February Meetup. So I actually have February and the March features, which came out yesterday. So we might do a little bit of learning together for the March features, but I'm going to go through some of my favorites and some of the highlights from February and for March. So we have 2 months for what's new in Power BI. So as always, I usually start with the Microsoft Updates blog with the feature summary that comes out along with the monthly release. Again, as usual, I just sort of cherry pick some of my favorites and some of the new features that are most relevant to me and my workflow. And I try and pick ones that are applicable to to more people, to the majority of people. But if you want to sort of get into the details, see everything that's new in Power BI for this month, I would definitely recommend you check out the feature summary blog, as there's links to other documentation and there's comments at the bottom so you can see what everyone else is saying about it. But with that, why don't I jump into what was new in Power BI last month? So it's still pretty new. And as always, the contents are broken down into different sections. I usually focus on the reporting section here. And so some of my favorites from this one are updates to the input slicer. And we have some updates to the card visual as well. So I'm just going to jump down here to have a look. So the update for this slicer, this is the what used to be the text slicer has now been renamed to be the input slicer. I've demoed this before, and when I jump into Power BI in just a second, we'll have a look. And what this update does is that it makes this visual look a lot similar to the filter pane. So we have some of that same sort of like conditional logic, like, does this text contain anything? Does not contain, starts with, is any of these things. So now we get a similar experience in the slicer visual as we do in the filter pane, or even just in column filters in the data view. And the other update that we'll look at are updates to the card visual themselves. Last month, we had a lot of the defaults change in the card visual, which, like on paper and in the blog post, looks good. It does kind of mess things up maybe in production for a lot of different card visuals. Maybe that might have happened to me and a lot of other people. So something to be aware of if your card visual did change and you got a big scroll bar, or, things changed overnight and you're wondering what the heck happened. Some of these defaults did impact reports. So it's just something to be aware of and something to look into if you did notice any weirdness. But with that, why don't we jump into Power BI and we can look at these two updates. So let's start with the slicer. Right here, we have sort of like our hierarchy slicer. If I go to resize this, actually this is a good point. I'm going to do a quick little tangent because I've noticed this before. If you notice when you're trying to resize slicers or something similar, and it's getting all squidgy, but you have all this blank space down here, you need to go to, multi-button layout. And you might notice this fixed number of buttons shown. This could be on or off. If you toggle that off, then it just fits up the whole space. If you do want to force a fixed number of buttons, sometimes the default is a very high number, and that's what creates this space. So if we toggle this off when we resize it, it should resize a little bit nicely. Done with that aside. Okay, input slicer. I'm just going to copy and paste this slicer, and we'll change it to be an input slicer. So we're going to change it to here, and we can toggle off the title for now. So this is when we start entering value. I didn't mean to do that. So we can say like gold, golden. If I hit this drop down, we see we now have these options of like contains golden, does not contain golden, or gold starts with it. We see that it cross filters to gold. So now we get these nice sort of like descriptive labels of what we want to do with our input filter. We don't just have to paste in full words or partial strings or anything like that. We can now be a little bit more explicit to control our input slicer. So we've seen that one. The other update is with the card visual. So in a similar way, we see that we have a scroll here. If I go to multi-category layout, under layout, we have this auto grid is usually toggled on now. If I toggle that off, we see that all 4 of my categories go in there. So again, just something to be aware of. Some of these defaults can change the behavior of your reports. And sometimes I think if you're building reports for the first time, the default changes are good. But if you do have reports published, some of these defaults, depending on how you're setting up the report or setting up your card visual, can impact it. So I just wanted to look into this as an awareness. If anything weird has happened to your card visuals, this could be the reason why. But I should be able, from this month's update, to cross-filter based on category. I'm trying to click on the category header and it's not cross-filtering the rest of my report. So I might be doing something wrong here. I'm not really sure. I don't know if anyone else has run into this, or if you do have the ability to cross-filter from categories, and maybe it's just something I have set up wrong. But as of February, you should be able to cross-filter your report by these, by the card visual categories or category headers, if you will. So I can't demo it. I'm not quite sure why I can't demo it. I'll have to look into why. But you should be able to do this. And if anyone can see I'm doing something dumb on the screen, please let me know, and I'll be able to fix it right away. So those are two of my favorite features from February. The last one, which is probably easier to see in the blog posts themselves, is we have an update for the preview visuals. So if you've tuned into what's new in Power BI, you'll know that some of the new features, they go into preview before it's generally available. And when it's in preview, it's kind of like it's being beta tested. So, things will change. Some features will be there and then they won't be the next month. And then when it's stable and everything's sort of accepted, it'll be generally available to everyone. And you don't have to enable the preview feature. We have this with the visualization pane here too. They made an update to the visualization pane where visuals in preview will now appear in a separate section. There'll be a dividing line and it'll be really clear that these visuals are in preview. They're not generally available yet. And all the visuals in sort of the main visualization section are stable. However, when I jump in, I don't see that in my visualizations pane. So again, I'm not sure if this is a setting that I'm missing or if there's nothing in preview right now, but I tried to restore the default visuals and do all that. I haven't seen anything. So maybe by next month, this will be in place and I can demo it and we can actually see what it looks like. But again, this is just one of the things that was called out in February that I haven't seen yet in my version of Power BI. So that was February. I know we went through a little bit quickly, but it's because I want to get to March as well. So those are my favorites from February. We go into the March feature summary. Again, this came out yesterday. And part of the reason why I really wanted to get to March this month is because there were some updates here that was very exciting for me. It impacts the default look of all the reports that we can build in Power BI. And there were some cool reporting features that came out as well. So I'm going to start with one that is, I don't know how long this has been asked for. If anyone wants to chime in the chat, if you've been sort of part of the Power BI community for line charts for a very long time, it's like we need series, label, leader, lines, and labels for line charts. Why don't we have these? This is such a cool update. It's a lot easier to see if I jump into Power BI here. So I have this line chart in the top left-hand corner. We have a legend that corresponds to the colors of the lines. But one thing we're able to do now is I can toggle on this series label. And when I do that, we have these labels that correspond to the legend, but they're now in line with the lines in my line chart. And if I expand the formatting options for these series labels, I can toggle on match series color. So now I can see the blue line has a blue label of deposit, the purple line has a purple label of investments, etc. And what that can allow me to do is toggle off my legend. And now this is a lot more clear when we have like a dense line chart, exactly what each line belongs to. And it looked a little bit more modern, in my opinion. We also have the option to toggle on leader lines as well. So this is helpful if the lines are even sort of closer together. Actually, that's going to spread them out. If your lines are really close together, it is easier to have these sort of lines pointing to the lines in your line chart to see what the labels are. And I don't think we can match color, but we can toggle the color there, maybe something a little bit darker. So we can see again, deposit points to deposit, investments to the investment line. So this is This seems sort of like a small thing, but I think it's been asked for so long that this is really cool update. I'm really excited for this. I think this can make line charts look, again, just a lot more modern with some of the formatting available to us. If I hop back into the blog post, the second update I want to look at are these custom totals. So this is in preview. This is a preview feature that we need to enable. And what this allows us to do is if we have like a table or a matrix visual, so something like this is the example, we have category, and then we have a few measures to the right. We have the option to customize the total calculation. So the individual line items and breakdown within our table can remain the same, but it's this total that we can format to update so that it doesn't have to follow the same calculation as what's in the lines above. So it is something that we have previously been able to control with our DAX measures. So if you are using DAX a lot, I still probably would explicitly control this type of functionality within a DAX measure. It is a little bit more involved and a little bit more complex. So what this new feature does is it allows us to do a similar functionality, but just with, clicking down a menu instead of defining it in DAX code. So to show what this looks like, I'll just collapse this down to start, just so we can have a more simple table. So we just have a total balance measure here. So this just sums up the balance. And in our total down here, we see that it's just the sum of all the line items above. And it could be that we do want the sum for all of these line items, but for our total, maybe we want to see like the maximum or the minimum total balance. So what I can do is I can right click on this total balance measure that's in the values of my matrix visual. And down here at the bottom, we have this new customized total calculation that's in preview. And then we have some aggregations that we can define to see how we want to change how that total is displayed. So if I hit maximum, it'll do some thinking. And we see that down here, we have this 31, I think this is billion, which corresponds to regular. And we now have a visual calculation in my fields pane here. So if I go to edit that, we can see what happened. And we can see on the right-hand side here is our old sort of like base measure of total. And which sums up to 132 billion. And then we see on the right-hand side here that we have 31 billion, which is the max from up above. I have noticed some weirdness, and I've seen some other people post about this. When it comes to setting the actual, just the total, sometimes it does impact what's in the body of the matrix and some of the subcategories as well. So we need to be aware of that. I've seen that when let's open this back up. I have seen this when, let's be able to see both. When I changed it to max, we see that since we have like a nested hierarchy here, we're also getting the max for the subtotals. We see that for the client type of regular, the sum of everything is 107. But since we're taking the max of like the most granular category, it's being returned here. And then that max is being returned, in the totals. So I'm still sort of playing around with this again. This feature just came out yesterday, but I have noticed that when we do change the total types, it can change what's actually in the table or the matrix visual as well. I've been playing around with it over here on the right-hand side. And when it is just a simple table visual as opposed to a matrix, it does seem to work a little bit better. So if I right-click here and go to maximum, all of these seem to have stayed the same, and it is pulling in the actual maximum. So just something to be aware of. Again, it does seem to impact subtotals as well as the grand total on the matrix. And when you use this option to just edit this total line, it does create a new visual calculation. So it creates like a new column we see here with this visual calculation icon next to it, and it hides and renames the original measure or the original field that was that's now the base for this calculation. So this is sort of how it works. Is it hides and renames that original measure that's in the table, and then it creates a new visual calculation on top. And that's when we see some of the changes. So again, this is something that's in preview. It will update and it will change. I'm sure I'm going to demo it next month as well. But this feature has been released. It's something that I'm still playing around with. But let's go back to the report. And now it's time for probably maybe the riskiest thing that I have done in however long I've been doing What's New in Power BI. And this is trying a new feature for the first time live on the call. And the reason why I wanted to try this is because I am really excited for this. We have modern visual defaults and customizing theme improvements. Again, this is in preview. And we can see some highlights here. Power BI desktop visuals now start with a modern look. This preview introduces an updated base theme, which is great. We have a bigger default canvas. We have visuals defaults now have a title and a subtitle. Chart displays with smooth lines, which I know will drive Ken nuts because he's all about having those nice Excel spikes in his line charts. Slicers default to drop-down mode. Buttons by default look a lot better. You don't have to spend 10 minutes formatting your buttons. And you can enable this, and this is what I want to try live. So it could go horribly wrong, but I want to try it out by going into themes, customizing the current theme, and updating it. So in theory, if I start on my home screen here, I should just be able to update it, and it will look nice. It will have the brand new theme. So I'm going to try this out now. I'm going to go to View, and then I'm going to go to this theme section, Customize Current Theme. And just on this landing dialog pane, we see that we have an update to our base theme is available. Get it now, update theme. So this is sort of the moment of truth. We'll update theme. I'll hit apply. Oh my goodness, it actually worked. I can't believe it. And this is actually looking pretty nice, I think. We see that everything has nice rounded edges by default. We have this nice sort of like gray monochrome look. The lines in our line chart are smooth. We get rid of the spikes. Even the table and matrix visual, the font size seems to have increased, or the spacing is a lot nicer. Our card visual has nice consistent spacing here. The formatting's nice. So I think this is this looks excellent, and it worked. So I think what a better way to end it on this high, and pass it back to Ken and pass it back to George for the feature presentation. But thank you everyone for looking at what's new in Power BI for February and for March. Yeah, I'm excited for the feature presentation and excited for next month when I'm sure I'll talk about some of these same things again when they're where they have even more functionality. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Joseph. Thanks as always for doing this. You make it sound like with the I want spiked lines because it makes it look like Excel. You know, we can make rounded and smooth lines in Excel, right? Like we've been able to do that for a long time.
You might be able to, but do you? Or do we like the accounting spikes?
As a matter of fact, I don't, because a smooth line implies data where it doesn't exist and implies a uniform or a curve change. So when you're comparing month-to-month values, it makes the data lie. So no, I don't use them. There's a reason. But yeah, it's not about what I can do. It's about what I do. Well, that didn't sound good. All right, let's pitch that. Anyhow, thanks again for doing this. I really appreciate you coming in and showing us what's new there. And now it is my great pleasure to welcome George to the show. George, you're going to talk to us about AI, and oddly enough, even though I have feelings about AI, I said, hey, George showed something cool. I really want him to come and actually present this. So on that kind of an intro, I'm going to let you take it from here, but I'm actually really interested to see what you have to say about the stuff that you've been playing with. So what do you got for us?
All right. Thank you, Ken, and welcome everyone. I'm going to share my screen here in a sec. Let's do that. Yeah. Okay. All right, so you should see a PowerPoint deck here.
Fantastic.
Okay. There we go. All right. So those of you who don't know me, I am an Excel MVP. I'm based in Cleveland, Ohio. I've written a couple books with O'Reilly, just past 400,000 learners on LinkedIn Learning. And I, like most people who present here, want you to feel more confident, do more robust analysis in Excel. I think every presentation we see here, there's more and more things you can do in Excel, and AI is no exception. So let's talk about that today. And I have kind of an ambitious set of objectives, but there will be some hands-on parts. I do want to talk about at a high level, what is an agent? What is a workflow? What are some things we can do to help our Excel tasks? And how can we do that responsibly? Now, this is a very rapidly changing field, obviously. So I think some of the demos that I'll be showing you honestly might be obsolete like in a couple weeks. No kidding. With co-work coming to Microsoft at some point in time. But I think that still helps us get the thinking behind when to use an agent, when to use a workflow, what's actually happening when we run these scenarios, and how can they help us with things that Excel users typically do. So best case, we're going to go through 3 demos. The expense report agent, if you've ever used Shoebox, you might not have to anymore after this demo. Variance stack, how can we actually pop data into a variance stack consistently given a workbook? And then finally, how can we validate? And this is just kind of a conjectural one, but with people rightly being concerned that numbers might not be right, things hallucinate, what are some checks and balances that we can add? Typical approach that we add to any of our Excel models, right? We do the numbers tied, checks and balances. How can we do that with generative AI? So we'll see how far we can get here. If you do want to follow along, I did set this up so that you are able to do that. I'll just throw this in the chat here now. You might not have access to all of these tools because I'm going to be popping into Power Automate and Office Scripts and the AI Builder and Power Platforms. So you'll at least know where they are. Okay. And that link, you should just click the button and those files will download. So let me know if you have a problem with that. Actually, you are going to have a problem with that because something didn't update to the link. Let me try this again. All right. I changed the location of this file. So actually, let me update that in Teams. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. So that one should work a lot better. Let me just double check that. Okay. Yes. Okay. That looks good. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. So I really love this 2x2 matrix. It really cuts through a lot of the clutter. What are these tools what are they all about? This is a friend of mine, Tobias Zwingman. He wrote a great book. It's called The AI Powered Advantage, I believe. You can learn more at the link. And this is just a simple 2x2 matrix, getting us thinking about, well, where does Claude fit in versus ChatGPT versus Copilot? And we want to look at up here at the top, right? There's this idea of, is this AI tool low on the spectrum of automation versus high? Is it lowly or highly integrated into the tool we're actually using? So Excel Copilot really did start off in the low automation, high integration, would help us do really simple tasks. If you did use App Skills and that name was discontinued a few weeks ago, didn't do much more. Even if it could do that, add things like columns, conditional formatting, but it was really kind of piecemeal work. Okay. Now we're getting more into the agent world where the idea, we'll talk more about that. It's able to complete tasks autonomously, use policies that you've uploaded, and not need as much hand holding. Okay. So we've moved from copilots to agents to varying levels of success with Excel. But where I think things get really confusing is the name itself. And I think you've seen this, like app skills was discontinued, and then agent mode got added, and then that was only there for like 3 months. I thought it was a horrible name, and I think a lot of the naming does come down to the crux of agents and copilots are different. And copilot is kind of a funny umbrella term because we're building agents with copilot, build your own copilot with agents, build your own agents. What the heck is going on here? Let's talk about the first example of moving away from a simple copilot task, which is again, calculate a column. I want these rows sorted. Give me a pivot table, do an XYZ, and something that's a little bit more autonomous. We are going to use the agent builder in 365. I took this from somebody on LinkedIn, so you can see the source down there. But there is a tool called Copilot Studio. I'm not going to cover that today because it gets a little more into the developer world of building things like chatbots that would get uploaded to your website. We don't really need that. We just need some desktop support tools, something that you and maybe a couple other people in your team might lean on. So one example that I came up with is something to do with expense accounts, right? You go on a trip, you have your PDFs, you just want them classified really quickly. This agent builder works really well for that. And we're going to see that it trades off some convenience for power that you might find with Copilot Studio. So let's try this out. There is a demo one folder in the files. Let me bring that over to my screen here. Okay. And what we're going to do is I've got some PDFs. I just generated these, so these are made up, but I played around using some real receipts and it seemed to hold up pretty well. Again, we've got our PDFs. We just came back from our trip. We want to pull out the date, the vendor, the amount, all that stuff, and not that. And we also want to classify these. So what I did here is mock up an expense code report here. And what this is going to do is, right, just our chart of accounts, more or less. I did add some context. So the description is meant to just give our agent, give our agent just a little bit more context of what's going on here. So let's see how we can use this as a knowledge source for our agent and come up with a report to fill in those expense codes. I'm going to back out of this stuff. We're going to go to whatever they call it now. It's not Office 365. It's Copilot 365 or 365 Copilot, whatever. I put office.com into my browser and this is what comes out. So let's look at that. All right. So there are these agents here. And like I said, some of these were built already. Okay. Nope. Faked out there. Okay. Some of these are built already. We're going to build one for ourselves here. And let's do that. So let's create a new agent. We are going to call this something like expense report once this loads. Okay. Give that a second. There we go. All right, now this will look kind of like Copilot Studio. Again, like I said, it just does not have all the horsepower if you've used that tool before. I'll call this something like, expense PDF account report or something like that. And then for the description, this description is really just in case you can share it with others. It will just open up on a tab in their browser, not really going to integrate with anything like Teams or Power BI that I'm aware of, but that might not be the case. The instructions are really where we're instructing the agent on how to work. So I did leave these, I believe, in the files as well. And there's a link to my blog. So if it's not there, you'll find it here. Now, this is pretty long. I do want to walk through all the steps of how we want this agent to behave. So every time someone uploads a PDF, we will find the transactions. Okay. we want all the transactions processed in the PDF. I've not had great success with that working. That may be something where Copilot Studio, you might have to like instantiate a loop or something like that. So that part's kind of not really as I want it, but we do want to find the transaction, vendor, total amount. Okay. We do want to find the expense code. Okay. So this is again, like basically what Shoebox does or did if you've ever used that or other tools before. We're going to spit out an Excel workbook. We want the workbook to look like this. Okay. So that's all great. A couple other things we need to do is we could give it an icon if we want. I will leave that blank, but we definitely want to set up our knowledge source. Okay. So we are going to only use our specified sources, and our only specified source is going to be our expense account here. Now, if I upload it directly this way, there is it's called Microsoft Copilot chat files, I believe, that's going to be in your OneDrive. It'll just load there by default. You can move it. So this is a live file if you need it for some reason. And where did that go? Let's try that again. There it is. Okay, so we can edit this later if we wish. It'll be in our Copilot chat files. You could put it somewhere else if you wanted. We are not going to search websites. We're not going to need chart profile info. We don't need to create charts or code. We will talk about doing that in the next example. So that's really all we need. And then the other thing, just to make this a little easier to use, we could certainly add something like, get started. Okay. And then the default prompt is going to be something like, classify my uploaded PDF receipts. All right. So this is looking pretty good. Okay. It's auto saving. I believe we can just test it right here, or maybe we can't. I don't see a way to upload this file. So let's actually create this and we'll double check. How's this working? Okay. All right. So here's my prompt to get set up. We're going to add our files. Now, again, these files will get uploaded to your Copilot chat folder. If you wanted to do that differently, you could do that. No, I want to upload. Where things get a little more complex is like maybe you have a folder in SharePoint that, people upload it automatically and this process gets kicked off. Again, that's something where you might want to look more at Copilot Studio. There's something like an agent flow that the agent's going to run every time a trigger happens. So that part is, again, I see some good questions here. So I am on a paid pro version of Copilot. I believe you need that to do this. And most of the things we're going to be doing would take a license. Okay.
Hey,
so we're
George,
yes.
just for reference on this, I ran your demo here on the free plan. This one works.
Oh, cool.
So
okay.
For what it's worth.
Yeah, good to know. Okay. So yeah, if you are in the free plan, you should be able to reproduce this. So let's run this. It'll walk us through its thinking. Give it a moment here. Of course. All right. Well, it's not going to generate the workbook for us here for some reason. I've never seen that error before, but it looks like we do have the results right here. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try one more time just to see. That's a new one. Let's upload our files. Okay. And we will try this again. Okay. Those of you at home, maybe you were able to. Oh, you know what I might have done? Let's go back to edit this. Okay. And let's turn on the code interpreter. This is actually probably a good mistake that I made. We actually do need, if you think about it, we are creating an Excel workbook. So we do need this turned on. All right. That was my mistake. Let's go back and try this again. Okay, go to agent. Okay. And I'm going to try this one more time. Classify my receipts. And let's upload these again. Okay. And let's try that. Okay, now if you wanted there's a specific template that you wanted this filled out like, I was having trouble getting to work in these 365 agents. Copilot Studio seems a little bit more persistent about following your instructions. Okay, so that's going to run. I'm not going to spend any more time with this. Let me show you an example. Okay, no, there it is. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's download this and see what we get here. Okay. All right, so did a pretty good job. If there wasn't a date found, we left that as a comment. Fresh market was classified. I was having trouble getting this one classified. And, this might be one of those edge cases where I know a lot of expense reports, if it's like at a grocery, it doesn't count versus a, actual meal. So if there were some edge cases like that, you can include that in your descriptions in that expense code. But bottom line, we were able to populate this, throw it into a table, not have to classify all of our dates and take all that time filling out this workbook. So, just a nice, easy, quick win using one of these agents for something pretty practical. And again, make sure your code interpreter is turned on and you will get better results then. Okay, so that's my first example here. It's basically OCR and OCR as well as classifying those expenses. That does take some, agentic AI reasoning to decide, okay, I think Uber is transportation versus, right, there's no hard-coded rules to do that. So that's all kind of probabilistic guesswork. All right, so let's look at the next thing that we'll do here, which is really more of an AI workflow. And I think when most people talk about agents, they really more want an AI workflow. If you've used Power Automate or Zapier or any other tool like that, you've done this before, right? Somebody fills out a form, that form gets emailed to somebody for review. Maybe the results of the form get posted to a workbook, and there are certain steps that need to happen. What if we could add a prompt inside that workflow? I think that's really where people are looking for more often than a true agent. So I'll give you an example here where what we're going to do is set our workbook up into Power Automate. We're going to run a prompt. The prompt is going to create a variance deck. Now, again, this is something that is ripe for replacement with Copilot work or Copilot co-work. But good to think through the processes, because what I'm imagining is going to happen is that you're going to lose a lot of the transparency with Cowork. I don't know if you've used Claude Cowork, but it doesn't do a great job at, walking you through what exactly happened. You could use Claude Code for that. And this is kind of the similar idea where we can really see the workflow happen. Okay, so let's try this out. There are going to be some files here go to demo 2 here. And okay, so I've got some made up variance data here. All right. I've got this is a very basic template, but what we'll want here, right? Update the title. We'll want to update the highlights. Okay. I'm sure your variance deck is more complicated than this, but Rome was built in a day, so we'll see how this one will work. Let's go out to, going to go to Power Automate, and we're going to create a workflow to do this. And again, one of the steps of the workflow will be to run this prompt. Okay, so I'm going to create a new flow. If you've never used Power Automate before, right, you've automated things before, there are different ways to start your automation. It can start on demand. It can start when another action happens. It can start on a schedule. I'm just going to start it instant Cloudflow. As once I hit the trigger, it'll start. That's just the easiest way to kick things off. right? Create variance deck. And yes, the flow will start when we trigger this. You can always change this later if you wish. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, and this is where working with external files is a little bit more complicated, because there's no way to just upload the files like in 365 agents. So we need a backend way to do this. There is a get file content using path. So I've already done this. You would need to do this if you're following along. You'll want to upload this to a OneDrive or a SharePoint location. I believe I was using my OneDrive for this. So we'll get file content using our path. We need to find where that file is located. So I did this earlier. Okay, we're going to find my Copilot demo files. Okay, and then there's one called variance data. Okay. And then there's that. Okay, so we found the file there. I'm going to rename this, right? Get variance data workbook using path. Okay, we got to do the same thing with that PowerPoint deck. So we'll find, get our file there. Okay, get file content using path. Okay, same location. And let's find that Copilot demo file. And we want to find our variance stack. Okay. All right, so you see why I'll need to do this in a minute. And let's say get variance deck using path. Okay. And now what we're going to do is actually run a prompt as part of this. So this is a tool from AI Builder. I believe you might need to go into your administrative center and enable this. But we are going to run a prompt as part of this workflow. I'm going to create a new one. I've got the instructions in the files if you want to try this. So we've got another prompt. It's going to walk through what to do, how to read the workbook, what I want the outputs to look like. Okay, here are some, requirements, examples, etc. Now, the way this is going to work, again, if you think about this, the user isn't uploading these files. We're doing it via a path. So this is just a pure sandbox. And this part really confused me at the beginning. What we're doing right now is just testing this prompt. So we need to actually upload a couple of test files. When I hit the bracket, there's going to be this opportunity to insert some kind of dynamic content. We do want to insert a PowerPoint, and I'll call this something like PowerPoint deck. Come on. Okay. We want that to be a PowerPoint deck. Where it says upload an image or document, it says sample data. So this is not what's going to be running during the flow. This is just to test this prompt out. You need to actually test this to save it, I believe. So we'll have to do this, and it's probably a good idea to see how it's working anyway. So we'll go over and find this. Okay. The reason that we're not seeing this right now is the same problem as before, which is, let's close this. We need to head over to our settings. Okay, and way down here at the bottom, enable code interpreter. So pretty much anytime we're working with Excel files, PowerPoint, to make that happen, we need this thing turned on. So I'll close out of this. You don't really need to change any of the other stuff. Where this record retrieval, now when I first started this, or it says number of records retrieved, I thought that meant for the actual Excel workbook. And that's not actually the case. It will read the entire file. This basically just means how many knowledge sources can we refer to? And we're only using the PowerPoint deck and the workbook. So that's kind of a non-issue. This does not have to do, it can work with big Excel workbooks and summarize it fine. So we don't need that. I'm going to just leave the temperature low. Again, we probably don't want a lot of variability in these reports the variance decks that we're writing. So that's fine. I'll close out of that. Okay. And now we'll come back here and we will be able to upload, right? And you'll see that we can find the files that we want. There's our variance report. And again, this is just a pure placeholder. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to make this an image or document. I'll call this something like Excel workbook. Okay. I'm just renaming these because we are going to need to use these parameters later on in the flow. So the cleaner you name things, just the easier they are to rework with. And let's upload our workbook here. Okay. And again, sample files are not saved. This is just a pure test. That's good. Model response. So our prompt results can come back to us in a few ways. It can give us text. It can give us JSON, which we will use in the next example, or it can give us a document or an image. And that's what we want. Let's go ahead and test this out. Now, for some reason, I don't know what's going on under the hood, but this thing often times out. It will tell you that the run failed. I've not had that happen in the actual flow. I don't know what it is about this test environment that makes it so brittle, but it will take time here. And as we're doing this, let's go ahead and save this, create variance deck or something like that, just so we have a better name for that. So that's still running. And then ultimately what we're going to get here is an example of the output that we'll receive from this prompt. And there will be a couple more steps after this, because if you remember, this is just to test it. This is not what's going to happen. We still need a way for the user to download these results. Obviously, we don't want them to go to the prompt builder every time that they need this run. So we'll have to take this output. There it is. Okay. And like I said, I don't know why it says no files generated. Just give this another try. It'll run. But we're still going to need to take the output and drop it back into OneDrive. So there are going to be a couple of cleanup steps that happen after this. And again, this really does match what Tobias is talking about. Let me go back to that slide. Okay. There we go. All right. So again, we have a trigger. We're doing steps. Here's our AI step in the middle. And then we're going to have to do some cleanup to get to our output. So let's see how this is looking. Okay, I'll test it one more time. And then if that's not still working, we can change the model. We could try to do that as well. Okay, I know in general, Microsoft's been pushing people more toward the Anthropic models. They seem to work a little better for stuff like this. This is to be expected. The code interpreter, I wasn't expected because I didn't have that turned on. This I was expecting to be a problem. So we'll let it run a couple times here. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Let's try to change the model. Okay, I'm going to try, let's try the Opus model. Let's see if we get any better results. Or let's try Sonnet if it lets me. Okay, let's try that. See if it helps. The other thing I could do is just go to the pre-built flow and see if we can get it running from there. Let me show you too, as this is running. I mean, this is what we will be getting at some point. Okay, so ideally what we're going to get is something like this. This is from my website. So it'll come up with the title. Again, if you want a specific title, add those instructions to the prompt. I was pretty clear about what each bullet should read like, right? We want a variance at the top. We want variance to forecast after that. We want the largest favorable. So these were baked into the prompt. And these numbers, again, you might be asking, well, how do I know if these are right? That's what I think the third demo is going to do for us, just add some checks and balances there. So let's see if we got that. Now that is just too weird. So let me close out of this and head back to one of these that I had already built just so we can speed this up. Let's go ahead and head over here. Okay. And okay, so here's our prompt. We did run that prompt. Okay. And what we're going to need to do, I'll edit this. Okay. Our test results show up there. So this is all the stuff that we did before. We got a test output right there. Okay. After we do that, you're going to see these are the inputs that when the flow actually runs, will get passed into the prompt. So we're not, like I said, right, we're not going to just upload a sample file each time, right, this runs. We need to pass in the file location. Now, where things get a little trickier is that we need to convert this to base 64 from binary. Okay, so there's a PowerFX function that will do that for you. This is in the post if you want those as well. So this will be the source for those files when the prompt actually gets run. Then what we got to do is reverse that and take the base 64 and bring it back into binary to ultimately save it into, I'm going to choose my Copilot chat files. So we're going to create a file as a result, specify where it goes. We're going to specify the name of that file. I'm going to call it Variance stack. And just give it a random set of numbers after that. But we also need to make sure that it's converted back to binary for this to run. All right, so let's test this thing. Sorry that there were some troubles testing the prompt earlier. That part I was not expecting. But if I run this, we'll run our flow. And we should see lots of green here. And I'm going to start heading over. Yeah, so that looks successful. Let's go to my Copilot chat files. And again, that Copilot chat files is a good one to know exists just because it's a safe place to store, anybody using Copilot is going to have it. So this looks like the one that was just created. Okay, we'll open that up and we'll see what we got here. Okay, so yep, variance report. Okay, top performance. Forecast variance, favorable, unfavorable. All right. So again, I'm assuming Copilot Cowork is going to make this workflow obsolete any day now, but you saw it here first. We are able to do that with Power Automate. Any questions about that one? And then I think what I'll do is briefly walk through number 3 so we don't run into any errors. I don't know if I'll do that one live, but I'll walk through the workflow.
George, I don't see any questions in the chat at the moment related to this one. So,
okay, cool. All right, so let's try the third one, which is kind of a variant of number 3, which is how can we double check these numbers that are getting spit out from Copilot? Now, this is just an idea that I had, and maybe there are better ways, but I thought, well, what if I bake an Office script into the workflow and total the numbers that way, okay, and then compare them to the numbers that Power Automate is building with the script. And if they're equal, I'll send out the flash. If they're not, I'll hold it back. So just an idea there. Let me open up the flow and show you how that works here. Okay. So what we'll do is, okay, let's head over. So I have the sales flash report. I will open up the file so you see what we've got. Just a very simple sales data here. Okay. And what I did was created, I'm sure there are lots of ways to do this. I'm not that good at Office scripts, but what I did was come up with a little script that will, pull the total sales from this workbook. I believe I just based it off a named range. I think you could actually total the column as well. Probably be a better way to do that. Okay. I don't know why that's running with errors, but we will get a result for that. All right. So what we can do with that information is we will go back to Power Automate and okay. All right. So we're going to manually trigger the flow here. Same situation as before. Okay. We need to find that file. I uploaded it to a folder. Okay. We're going to run our prompt here. Same situation. We got to convert it from basics or from binary to base 64. We're going to upload our workbook. Okay. We are going to run a prompt. This time, what I'm going to do is actually, let's see if I can actually upload this, and you'll see why I'm doing it this way versus uploading it directly to a workbook like before. So again, this is our test workbook. The output is going to be JSON right here. Okay. Here's the format that I want. I want to find the total sales. I also want some commentary about those sales. So hopefully this thing will cooperate this time. And the nice reason to use JSON as an output is we're able to convert our prompt output pieces into like building blocks so we can rearrange earlier. So each of these are like different objects. So if we wanted to just have the sales in one object, just have the commentary in another, that is a more modular way. And it also gives you more structure into how your outputs are formatted, how they're arranged. So in this situation, right, we have some commentary, we have our total sales. Now, what I can do, because these are so modular, is just pipe these into other applications. Like we're going to use Teams to throw this into. The other thing that's nice about this is that because this total sales is kind of a standalone object, I can cross-check that against something built elsewhere. Again, like I ran that Office script to do that. So that's going to be the next step of my flow. We'll run the Office script. And then I'm going to do just a basic branching logic here. Okay. So I'm going to say, if those numbers are accurate, go ahead and run this prompt and send out the commentary. And again, this is meant to be like a daily flash report kind of thing. Commentary could still be not really right. So you might want to add another layer. There are ways to add approval processes in here. I didn't find a great way. It would be great if there were a way to kind of like actually go in and edit that commentary and then send it out. I don't know if there's a good way to do that, but at least there's some checks and balances here. So if these two numbers are right, if they tie together, go ahead and send out that flash. Now, this is where things get interesting because we're going to use an adaptive card in Teams. And that, again, because we're using JSON here, we can modularize pieces and parts, the output that we want. I'm going to format the number here so that the total sales is formatted as currency. And then we're going to add the commentary in the text right here. So that will go through. And again, this is probably one that you maybe, every day at 3 o'clock, you have like a sales flash report you want to send out to certain people. You can use Teams for that. Let's save this and I will test this and we'll see how that goes. And again, if this isn't working, I believe I just send an email to myself, SOS. You could do something else just to grab people's attention there. So let's try that. I will run this. And again, this one was vetted before. Hopefully no errors here. And I'll pull up my Teams if I'm able to, because I know we're in Teams right now. I think I can do this. Yeah, let's go to my general here. Okay, and it looks like, yeah, it ran. So let me bring that over here. Okay, so here's our flash report, total sales, a little bit of commentary about that. And again, just having that Office scripts running in parallel, just to add a little auditability as to, is that total sale figure even accurate? Okay, so those are the 3 demos that I have. Lots of things you can do here. Would love to hear, what other people are building or what you want to build. I'm definitely treating these as the minimum viable products. And again, thinking that they'll probably be easier to build in time as well. So thanks so much, Ken, everybody, for staying tuned on this one. Sorry for a couple of glitches, but that's just the nature of live demos. And I'm happy to see what y'all have to say now.
It's the nature of live demos, particularly with AI, isn't it? Especially when things are changing so fast and whatnot.
Yeah.
Hey, just to kick this off, George, I've actually got a question for you that I wanted to throw in this. And if anybody else has questions, please, drop them in the chat or raise your hand so you can unmute and ask. But so as I look at sort of the complexity of how some of these things are growing, particularly as you're starting to get to, part 3, where we're looking at it going, hey, let's pull in an Office script, let's pull in a Power Automate flow,
Yeah.
let's, all these things. I'm just curious. I mean, I'm a programmer, right? So, I mean, I'll write applications, I'll write add-ins for Excel, or I'll write Excel solutions where I'm trying to keep everything in a single deployable file so that I know where the pieces are, what's working, send it out the door, and I've got my solution in one place. Are you finding any challenges in working with us? Because a lot of what I'm seeing here feels like AI is just giving us a different way to go and write a program that maybe doesn't work with such defined, well, it does work with defined rules, but they don't seem to be defined to be syntactically, has to be, fitting with the dot object model or whatever. It's more of a, write a paragraph to get what you want and hope you get what you want and whatnot. But at the end of the day, what I'm seeing is, in the case of the last one, we got an Excel file, we got an Office script, we've now got a Power Automate flow. We got 3 pieces to generate this one solution, which are not necessarily tied together. How do you manage that?
Yeah. I think the more points of visibility are the better. And that, I think, is a problem with, there is a tool, and I don't know if anybody's used it here, but I think it's called Workflows or something. It's one of the agents in 365 that's meant to be like an agentic Power Automate, which is kind of a contradiction in terms. The whole point to me of Power Automate is that I can see A to B to see how this workflow was done. But the 365 agent just strips that workflow out entirely. So they say that it's a workflow, but it's not, because it's just some kind of prompt that you don't even have access to under the hood. So that's very dangerous. I guess at least with Power Automate, you can see all the steps, happening. It's still complicated, but you have a little more control. So anything that's calling itself a workflow that doesn't show you something like, here's how we go from each step, I would say maybe don't use that. And it's a big problem with some of the solutions coming out now, because it's almost, it gets too easy, right? The idea is that it's almost, too good to be true, right? The old saying, it seems too good to be true. It probably is. And I think a lot of these AI solutions fall under that bucket.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would tend to agree with that. I guess a question sort of follow up to that one is, do you know of any tools that when you are building a solution that takes all these multiple parts, do you know of any tools right now that you can look at to say, where are the parts? Because that's or what parts are involved with the solution? Because that's one of the challenges that I find with this now is, you're looking at this going, well, I got an Excel workbook, so I email the Excel workbook to somebody else, and now it doesn't work for them. And it's like, oh, well, that's because you didn't send them the Office script, you didn't send them the Power Automate flow, you didn't send them all the components.
Yeah.
How do you even identify that these things are integral to the solution? Because I'm sure you've seen, right? A user gets confused when they put something into a cell and it changes color. And that's a conditional format that's still in the workbook. You take that to the next level where they open it up the next day and the data's changed. Just like, why? Oh, there's a Power Automate flow that ran on this and you had no idea it was even connected to this thing. Right. So, these kind of things they make me a little bit nervous around managing some of them. And I don't know, are you aware of any tools you can trace what the dependencies are for your workbook or no?
That's a good question. I don't know of a way that, well, I guess one easy way I think would be this needs to be uploaded to OneDrive, but in theory, any flow tied to this workbook, you should be able to head to this automation templates. There's a button over here that says flows in this workbook or something like that. That should tie to that, but I'm not positive. I'm not even sharing my screen. Am I? As I'm working on this, how do you take any other questions? But let me see if this would be a way to possibly do that. I think it would work. It's not the most programmatic way, but it would be something.
I think honestly, with a lot of these pieces, just the automation, right? I mean, I'm working with a client right now where trust of data is a major issue, because they say every time I open my workbook, the data's changed and we don't know why. And this is where you're trying to figure, no, there's storage. They're not even using AI. They've got challenges in their infrastructure, but regardless, I see this becoming a real problem as these things as these agentic flows start to be interacting with files and whatever else, and you don't know who, what, and where. And there's autosave. Yeah. You can actually look at the history of what changes are made, but in my experience, when I have a Power Automate that's hooked up to my workbook and it's making changes, all those changes are posted in there with my name because it's under my authority that the thing is running. So all I can see is that I made changes, but I don't even remember making the changes, which is problematic too, right? So, all right. So let's divert onto another question here as well. Is this is a possibility question for me? Then we'll take a couple of questions from the chat. So one of the questions that I've got is I get a lot of receipts emailed to me when I'm out about, use your credit card or whatever. Email comes in. I got rules in my email to bring them into a receipts folder. So that at the end of the month, when the accountant comes in and says, here's your Visa statement, Ken, where's the receipts for this? I can, go through these things and process them. What I'm trying to figure out is, do you think it's possible to actually write some kind of a flow that would basically look at these emails and say, let's extract the actual, extract the content using something like Copilot and append it into an Excel file so we can build up those transactions to reduce the need for me to go and actually hunt these things down, print them, to hand them off to somebody else? Possibility?
Yeah, I think the flows that we looked at today could do that. You could either set up your own form, you could set up a SharePoint folder, and that whatever your trigger would be would then flow through. And I think, again, going to that being an AI workflow versus an agent would be maybe something where the data you're uploading is a little more complex, and maybe there are, you're not only uploading like your dinner receipts, but you're also uploading like your mileage accounts, and the mileage, that gets deducted a little bit different than like your dinners, which are claimed. So they're almost different scenarios, and the agent needs to know almost kind of if you can think of things that are in somewhat ways, if then, right? If it's a mileage, then it's, do it this way.
Well,
if it's,
that's the challenge, right? I mean, what goes into my email folder? Hotel receipts, software subscription receipts, DoorDash receipts.
Yeah.
They've just changed theirs to get rid of the actual numbers out of them, which is really frustrating. So that's it. Like it's any time that you're out somewhere and you charge something, it's like, can I get my receipt by email? Oh yeah, cool. Cause I'll lose it if it's paper, right? So, so the receipts are highly variable. And this is the only reason I look and go, maybe this is where AI would actually be helpful. But Wendy says you can do this with Power Automate. It'll be interesting to sort of see how that goes, to be able to do that on a completely non-structured. Well, I mean, shouldn't say that. It is non-structured. The data is in there, but right now it takes a lot of human processing to figure it out because every piece of this is variable. And that's what I'm trying to figure out is, can I reduce my workflow in that way? Is there a way to do it? And then the question is, what tools would I actually need to use to do that? Like, are you looking at, if you're trying to automate this entire flow, will we be able to get there with the, example one that you showed, or does that require doing something more? Does this require going to Power Automate, things like that? So I don't know. It's a thought process that I've been trying to run through, but
yeah, I would say, the first example is if it's just kind of ad hoc, I've got maybe a file here and there, and I'm going to upload it whenever I need to, then what I showed is a good one. If it's something where, like, at the end of the trip that you're going to maybe upload it to the same folder and the process is the same each time to classify, then a Power Automate flow would work. Finally, if it's something really more complex where it's like, again, and this is, if it's mileage, it needs to go to this person for approval. If it's a certain amount of, if it's over a certain amount, then it needs to get flagged. And there are all these kind of contingencies. That's where I think, need more of a true agent, because it does have access to, I got to send an email for this contingency, and I got to start this process with that contingency. But if all you're doing is just straight uploading a file and doing basically OCR plus guess the best category, then a workflow like we looked at would work well for that.
Go. Cool. All right. A couple questions from the chat here. So from Scott here, with AI still under constant development, are we at the point where AI novices should start playing around with the tools, or will things change so much over the coming months that it's best to wait for more refinement? Scott, I'm going to tell you right now, my opinion, George is going to back this up, I'm pretty sure, but the one constant in AI tools right now is massive change. Everything's changing so quickly. So would you wait, George?
In some ways, if there are some quick wins that you can find, like, I wouldn't spend any more than a day or two trying to build something, because it is going to change so fast. But I mean, I know that personally, yeah, having a tool to help me with my receipts when I come back from a trip, I mean, that's like a tangible, scenario that I find myself in. If it's just spitballing, I was looking at Copilot Studio, has some paths where you can learn and get certified. Personally, I'm not going to bother with that because I know, Copilot Cowork's going to come out real soon and change that. So it really is just enough, see how much you can get done in like a sprint kind of mentality and don't overthink it.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that as well. I mean, I just, I find everything changing so quickly. I mean, I can't even follow what's happening right now just in Excel with the name changes that are going on,
Yeah.
the interface changes, the licensing changes. There's so many pieces that are just going sideways on this. So,
Yeah.
for me, it's, I get criticized from some of my friends like, hey, you still use your AI like a chatbot. I'm like, well, you know what? I find that's probably the most effective way for me because otherwise
Yeah.
I've just got to try and keep up with it. And at the end of the day, trying to use these tools where I can to make my work more efficient. I'm not here to use these tools. Like that's not the point. So, it's, yeah. All right. Another question from the chat. Can you explain what is a cloud flow?
A cloud flow is a flow that runs in the cloud on Power Automate. So that could start again a number of different ways: clicking a button, uploading a file, filling out a form. So all that was done on the cloud, on Microsoft servers, and instead of a local, like Power Query would be, historically happens on your machine, right? You could kind of think of it as like a workflow. This is a cloud flow happening across multiple applications.
Perfect. And I think that is all the questions that we have in the chat for right now. So if anybody else has one, raise your hand real quick for us. But outside of that, I just want to say thanks, George, for coming and showing us.
Yeah.
This is it was very interesting. And also want to throw again a big shout out to Joseph for coming and do our monthly What's New in Power BI. I really appreciate his work on those. We will get this video up within the next probably 24 hours onto the Skillwave YouTube channel. And don't forget, we got some great meetups coming up to sign up for as well, starting with Jan Karl Petiers in a couple of weeks to talk about vibe coding and Office.js add-ins. So very much looking forward to that. So on that note, I don't see any hands raised. So I think we'll say thanks everyone for coming. Thanks again, George, for this. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you all next time. Cheers.